Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Bobby J on 30A. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel. As always, with your host, Bobby Johnson.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I'm outside once again.
I love it. It's another day.
Now, keep in mind, this will all change as summer kicks in.
Oh,
I
yeah?
will move back to the air condition, right now. I try to take advantage of every spring I can. I always say, if I don't have a tan, you're not making money.
Nice. I was thinking maybe by summer you'd be out on the boat and we'd be doing these on the boat, but maybe the Wi-Fi.
Probably could. I mean, I bet you I could. I use the computer now, but I'm sure some people do it from the phone, right?
I mean, it would be risky for connection, but if people didn't mind, then we could take that risk and try it out. But
yeah, we could do it.
Anyway.
Awesome.
Yes, cool. Well, listen, we're talking about people, product, and process today. A little shout out to Marcus Lemonis from The Profit. Yes.
Sir. Yeah. Stuff.
Well, we were talking before we hit record about just, things mattering. Like sometimes I think we put a lot of, we get sidetracked by shiny things that look good, things that appear cool. Like maybe it's, and I do a lot with marketing. So people get really sidetracked by the tools of marketing and they forget about the message that those tools carry. And that's more important.
Yeah.
But you can spill that into marriage. People get all excited about, like, I want my marriage to look good. But if you're not connecting as people in marriage, like, what's the point? So this really covers a lot of different areas of life, but yeah. I mean, you tell me where it hits you.
Well, when you're talking about that, I instantly think about the process, I think oftentimes in business and relationships or all, the people in I couldn't say that. I couldn't say in marriage, perhaps the product could be broken, but typically what I've discovered in business is that the process is broken, and you're right. We do want to go fix it's amazing to me breaking this down, looking at it in business. Like I'm sure you run and I'll relate it back to real estate, how it's so easy to run off and like buy leads, and go, let's go to Zillow or whatever the latest and greatest is there. And yet the free business is right there. But for whatever reason, we feel like we're missing something over here. And I think one of the problems that people in business run into is that they're in the beginning of it. I think we've talked about this before. Their experience level is here, but their enthusiasm level's way up here when you start.
Oh,
right?
Sure. Yeah.
And here's what happens. Watch.
Yeah.
And your enthusiasm's here and your experience level's here. And I truly believe this, Chris. And the reason is the process gets broken. And you're just constantly being, every time I pick up the phone, someone's trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
And I'm listening sometimes, and I'm kind of going down that journey of, okay, what do I do next? I need to buy that. I need to do that. I already got enough business that I know what to do with, and I don't bother chasing, right? So I'm chasing this new business. And frankly, it's because we don't have a process. And oftentimes in business, we don't have a process in place.
That's good, man.
Garner new business. And what are we going to do with it? Well, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to go get more.
Right.
Insane,
I've been there. I've done that for sure.
Yeah.
I think too, actually, I like that we're using your business as an example, but I was pinging back to the relationship example, because I think ultimately, the people side of that is who you pick. I think sometimes we rush into relationships and we don't think about who we're picking. And so that can be broken.
Very broken.
But then the process of that relationship is like, if the relationship's not working, if you know that you've picked somebody good in a relationship, a good friend or a good spouse or good whatever, good business partner, but then it's not working, then you could probably start to look at what's the process. Like, did you ever hear Susan Scott? Did you know her? She wrote a book called Fierce Conversations. She's fabulous, but she said that relationships, like businesses, fail gradually and then quickly. It's like over time, nothing's happening, but then overnight you feel like what happened? Like all of a sudden we don't love each other. All of a sudden, like we don't want to be in business anymore. She's like, but that's actually not how it happens. It happens gradually for a long time, and then it happens suddenly,
Wow. I never thought about it like that. And again, it's a process is broken. Obviously.
Yeah, it's a process. That's what that points to, I think.
Boom, 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 boom.
Right.
We don't, we get into these things, we fail to communicate. Not only that, I think sometimes we don't know what we're communicating. Job descriptions are broken.
Right.
You know, and the first thing that Marcus, if we'll go back to Marcus, does when he walks into these businesses, he understands the people of the business, the process, how the thing's running, and excuse me, the product, what are we selling, whatever it is. This applies to any business. And then the process, and typically you'll find that the process is very broken, and it can be, you know, obviously, and that's a good, I never thought about it from a relationship standpoint.
I just keep wanting to go back there. I don't know why. It's pulling me. It's chasing me to you.
Well, I think, you know, it's funny, as I've been exploring in business, hiring people, my coach talks about this quite a bit. We have a tendency to bring people on, and we put them over here, and you know, we're all in love. We're having a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or whatever it is, and we're formulating this thing, right?
Yep.
And it's really good while you like each other, right? We build each other up.
Right.
We build each other up, and then what we do is we begin to break each other down. But meanwhile, you're paying over here. You already got this set pay, right? My coach explains it. He's like, you should never do that any longer. You start over here and you work your way to here. So you can even see if you know, each partner or employee or whatever, they have to prove the worth to each other. And then it's easy to go up. But once you're here and it doesn't work out, where do you go from there?
You mean in compensation? Like, are you specifically speaking of compensation?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a level of it. Obviously, if you don't compensate somebody properly in the beginning of a deal, where do you go to get the deal over with? You're now overpaying. They're not performing. I think you gotta, you know, that can be part of the process too. Can you bring on people, especially in sales, right? You have to you can't bring people or buyer's agents in and promise them this.
Right.
No idea if they can sell.
Right.
So how do you, they're coming into a situation, they have kids, they have a family, I think you gotta bring them into it a little bit, have them doing some task along the way to find out if they have game. I mean, we could take this people, product, process thing into a lot of areas.
Right.
Almost probably should define it. I mean, is it, now you want to talk about marriage, and then my wife will come here and the back of the head.
Well, it is interesting about like, I mean, it is, I love that we could talk about it in a relationship context or in a business context. And I do think that the conversation would look different depending on which path we choose. But like I said, for some reason, I'm just drawn to the relationship. Maybe it's because, you know, if I'm thinking about your show going out into the community, right, of 30A, I mean, some people are businesses and some aren't, but everybody has relationship. You know, everybody has relationship. And I think people are feeling disconnected. Maybe it's because we're self-medicating with, you know, social media or whatever. But I think if I think about product, because we haven't touched on that much, but the product of a relationship, you could call it the fruit of the relationship. Like, what are we doing this for? Like, what do we want out of this? And depending on what you say, we could create a process around that to create that. But without knowing what the fruit of the relationship is, I mean, you've talked about this, right?
Yeah.
The process you have with Bev, where it's like, you know, like liking each other and the different processes you set up to maintain the liking of each other, you know?
Yeah.
Because you guys are pretty intentional about that, like the different things that you've implemented process wise. But
yeah, you know, I think maybe with what, I mean, if we bring it back to what we're doing or gosh, it seems like business or social media, I mean, for me, in this direction has been more because I feel like it's some uncharted water a little bit, you know, and like I don't try to give it a lot of expectations, and I try to improve on my process of where I put it, how I put it, how I tag it.
Sure. Right.
And I'm growing a base a little bit. I think I'm still trying to figure out the fan base, if you would, if this is, you know, how does this grow? Where did it, I don't know. I'm having a hard time kind of explaining it. I think it's just provided a great launching for where we go with the rest of this type of marketing. I've never done this before, and I think it's kind of been fun. I think I've even had people ask me questions, where do you want to take it? I'm having too much fun to worry about. I'm exploring what in the heck it's up inside my brain a little bit. So I think I'm still trying to figure out that process in this. And maybe in something like this, in social media, it is a little different. I watch your shows, and I think it's sometimes you're still exploring some thoughts along the way in front of the public, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe when people come in and they tune into these things, and which is so hilarious, do you think maybe they think like everybody's got all the answers? Like we don't
know.
I mean, like, do we really know all the answers? I mean, or are we just trying to find, well, my fit's going to be different than your fit, right?
It is interesting. If you think about talking heads and radio, AM radio, and like before social media, there was that. And I don't think people tuned into that for answers. I think they tuned in for the dialogue, And I think this is that only in a 2019 version. Like we're having a conversation, and people might come to their first episode or their first piece of content from you because of the topic. They're like, oh, people, product and process. Yeah, like that's interesting. But then they come in and they hear how you think about something, or they liked the exchange back and forth. And then they come back for more because they don't always know where you're going, but they always know it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a very dynamic thing, and it changes individually. But I think the one thing you can walk away from completely with all of it, it's going to look different on everybody. And if you understand the people, product, and process, and try to keep things in threes in relationships, business, social media, narrow it down a little bit. There's nothing more discouraging to be in our type of businesses, and not have some sort of direction. Right. Yeah. With people, product, and process. Keep it that simple. I've had a lot of success after tuning into that show and following that theory, right? Marcus. Yeah. And I don't always know what and it seems like the people, product, you can use it in so many things in life, but every layer of it in life is going to look a little different. And then it's hard to explain it to somebody else because their process is going to be a little different. But I think it's important to have one. But you can, and to your point, you can have somebody look at and self-assess their own process, because I think we're like, oh yeah, nope, I buy leads and I don't do anything with them. Like, I don't know. And I'm trying to go buy more leads and you're right, I don't have a process. I mean, we can self-evaluate, that we don't have it, or that it could be better. But sometimes it just takes somebody pointing us that direction, because there's a lot of, without people, product, and process gives us a container or a place to focus. And without that, I think we're like, I don't know where to start. This happens all the time in marketing. Marketing is such a big beast for people. They're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. So I love that people, product, process starts to focus people in relationships or in business or whatever. Do you know what it reminds me of a little bit? Like, remember in high school, I mean, back in the day, like, when you had a car, and nowadays kids get nice cars. I mean, it's just bizarre. I don't know. What did you have? I had a Hyundai, a 4-door Hyundai. All right. You're a young guy, man. I mean, I had a Ford Pinto that ran one time, and I went into that from a Chevrolet Chevette. Wow. Right. Well, you really didn't have a lot of direction back then from parenting. Like, there's your car. Right. So the only thing you really knew to do was to, remember, get those rims, get nice rims for it. And then the new windshield wipers that were kind of like $50 a piece, and you look kind of cool there. But the reality of it is the inside's falling apart and it's spraying oil all over the place, right? I think business and relationships are like that a lot. Sometimes it looks good for all of us, and I can't tell you, tying it back to real estate, how people will think that the other company's doing better for them, are going to do more and more leads, or it always looks better over there. Right. Yeah. Because you don't really understand their process or whatever. And I guarantee you their processes. And I think that's the beauty of what these bigger franchise companies do. They really make it look good. Yeah. I've got this and this and this. Frankly, I've been with them. We don't really use any of that stuff anyways. Price your property properly, and you're not going to have to worry about any of that. Right. So it's funny when you were talking about that I was thinking about that old Chevette with those $50 a piece hubcaps I was looking good, but it was, it ran out of oil. No, I froze the block because I couldn't afford to put antifreeze in it, and then it just died. So the process was very broken there. Yeah, right. Seriously. It's so good. I think the takeaway, as much as this was like kind of a freestyling,
episode, I feel like the takeaway here is, you know, like wherever it is in life that things, well, just start to assess the important areas of your life with those three things. How are the quality of people? What is the product? And if you go towards relationships, you have to think of the product as like, what's the fruit of, what do I want this to be? What do I want this to do for me? Why am I in this relationship? Because that's going to point to sort of the product of it, the end result of it.
Right.
And then process, like what processes do I have set up to create the fruit of what this whole thing is for with these people? I think that's an awesome way to evaluate any important area of life.
Totally.
Any area.
Health,
take all the big ones.
Business. Yeah.
Fitness, health.
I always like the threes. I always like the three, keep it three. And everything I do, you know, like even in our systems at the office with my team, is we have 3 things we try to accomplish in marketing every day. You know, when we put something out, like did you accomplish, there's more, but I got to get 3 done for sure.
Yeah. I love that. Let it be said right here, right now, Bobby, that you can have, this is for all of you listening, you can have a very freestyle conversation without knowing the direction it's going to go. But as long as you have a frame, right, you can find the teachable moment. I have enjoyed the ebb and flow of this conversation, but that there are 3 places I can now evaluate. Like, I love that.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, man. Well, if people want to learn more about what you do and checking out your processes,
go to 38localproperties.com. You can find me on there. Look for properties, learn a little bit. A couple videos might be attached there. I think these blogs are probably attached over there if you want to find them there, or 38localrealestate.com. I know I have them attached there. I have lots of processes, so check it out.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Bobby, thank you. Catch you next time.
All right, good to see you. Bye.
Yeah.